Hello, this is lesson 2 of the unit on polynomial graphing. How do the k values and the h values affect this function when you're graphing it? Now, if you've been in my class before, you already know this. I'd suggest you turn off the video and do it, and then just turn it back on and listen to me and check it. So if you have a value table like this, you plug it in. -2 to the 4th power would be -2 times -2 is 4, times -2 is 8, times -2 is 16. 16 minus 1 is 15. Just plug them in like that. -1 to an even power will be +1 minus 1 is 0. 0 to the 4th power is 0, minus 1 is -1. 1 minus 1 would be 0, and 2 to the 4th will be 16, minus 1 is 15. So now as we come over and we graph that, there's the parent function. This is x to the 4th. Now we're going to go x to the 4th minus 1. At -2 it's 15, we can't get that on the graph. At -1 it's 0. At 0 it's -1. At 1 it's 0, and then it's 15. So what we've got is we've got this shape shifted down. And hopefully you looked at that a minute ago and you said that's just a k-shift. I'm just going to go down one. So now x cubed is the S shape. We've already discussed that before. When you plug this in, -2 times -2 is +4, times -2 is -8, plus 2 is -6. So remember, with a cubic you can't have a negative value. The odd function creates a negative value. So -1 will end up being -1 plus 2 is +1. 0 cubed is 0, plus 2 is 2. 1 cubed is 1, plus 2 is 3. 2 cubed is 8, plus 2 is 10. Okay? So now you go ahead and you graph this right over here, and you'll see the shift. That is a k value of +2. How is the graph g of x related to the graph of the parent function? Up here, explain how it shifted. On the next page, they have you explain how the other graph, h of x, this one, how it shifted. And then in general, explain the shift with k. Now we look at h. Which way is this going to shift? There's no reason to have to fill this in if you know the way that the h shifts. And if you've been in class quite a bit, you do know that. Go ahead and take the risk. If you're saying it would go right 3, that's correct. Move this graph to the right 3 and regraph it. This one, now remember, it is x minus h cubed in the parent formula. So if you have a +1, you really have a minus -1. So that's why it shifts left 1. Draw that. And then they're asking you to compare them to the parent functions, and then explain what direction the h values cause the shifting. Okay? So now in this one, they're putting it all together. They're wanting to know what that h value is, which it would be a +2. The k is a +1. Don't get this incorrect that you think it's a negative. The negative was in the formula, right there. Okay? So the horizontal translation is 2 units to the right. Vertical is 1 unit up. Draw the graph, and then they're going to have you explain the transformations. How is the graph of h of x, x plus 17 to the 8th minus 6 related to the graph of x to the 8th? What's my h shift? 17 to which direction, if it's a plus 17, and 6 to which direction? All right? Please come see me if these are really tough. H and K shifts, we've been seeing them a lot, so I'm kind of quizzing you, not really giving you everything on it. I don't want to just bore you to death on this. But maybe I should give you this in case you've missed a lot of class. X minus h plus k. Now you're going to have an odd or even up here. The even will make it a U shape. The odd will make it an S shape. That's the only difference that causes. But if you have an x minus h, then it goes right. If you have an x plus h, then it goes left. If you have a plus k, it goes up, and a minus k, it goes down. So follow that key and go back through those. So now it says, complete the table to describe how the graph of the parent function must be translated to obtain the graph of g of x. G of x is here. So the parent function would have to go over to the left 1 unit to come down and have that match up. So over left 1, so direction would be left 1. Vertically it needs to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 units down. Okay? Determine the h and k values for the equation. Based on the translations, h equals a -1 and k equals a -6. Now remember, when we put the negative in there, we don't leave it as two negatives. So it's x minus a -1, which would make it a +1. Simplify that to the 4th, minus 6. Okay, compare the domain and the range of g of x to the domain and range of the parent function, x to the 4th. Domain is the same for both. The domain would be all real numbers, because domain is your x values. We can choose all the x values. We can go on and on forever as we go out. The y, though, is affected by the k value. Because our a value causes the u to go up, we know that they'll both go to infinity, but the lowest point that this one is 0, so it's y is greater than or equal to 0, or you can write it in interval notation, a bracket 0, comma, infinity, parenthesis. Now this one, it will be your k value. Your k value was -6. So it's y is greater than -6, greater than or equal to -6, or with the interval it would be bracket -6, comma, infinity, and parenthesis. Suppose the graph g of x is translated 3 units to the right and 2 units up to give the graph of h of x. Explain how you can write the equation. Well, you can take g of x, you can take the equation for it, and that was x plus 1 to the 4th minus 6. You can actually translate 3 units to the right, 2 units up, and just get your sum there. So x minus 2 to the 4th minus 4. Add those together. And that'll give you h of x. You could also graph it. Okay? In general, translations change the in behavior. So be specific about in behavior. Ask me if you need to.